So we're at the end of February here, 2017, and I thought it'd be nice to make a quick, hopefully quick, update video on our chickens' compost system. I'll make a link here to the last video I made, which was in the fall, and our chickens have been living entirely on this system for the last few years, 2 years, and this winter it seems to be a real success. I just realized the other day I spent $25 for the first time since October on these chickens, and realized, well, wait a minute, that's incredibly cheap. 25 chickens, $25 for an entire winter. And you can see that, excuse me, I'm so sorry. You can see that what makes it work is we've collected huge numbers of leaf bags in the fall from downtown Ithaca nearby. People put them in bags. Wherever you live, people probably do this too. And dumped huge mounds of leaves and mixed whole grain into it. We barter for this grain from local farms in exchange for helping develop gardens for them. Could be something where you buy the whole grain from a local farm if you want, but creative bartering connections with people I find to be way more enjoyable. And you can see there's grain that has yet to sprout, there's grain that has sprouted, and all throughout there'll be earthworms that they can pick apart and grab from here. So not only are our chickens eating really, really high quality food, but they're getting to do what chickens like to do, which is scratch and peck through compost, straight through the winter, 15 degrees out, whatever, they're able to come out and still scratch through this material. And at the end of the winter, we'll have compost that can go onto our garden beds. So imagine if you were a chicken, it was 20 degrees out, if you would enjoy walking on these piles, eating all those sprouts. So it's been working really well, and we'll take a look at some other parts of the system here now and share them with you. My hope is that folks get excited to do this wherever you live. So we'll get to the next part. So one investment we made early on, which I guess I should factor in, are these nice metal galvanized containers in which we store the grain that we barter for. These are the sweepings and cleanings from a local organic mill that we trade designing and installing gardens and providing plant material to their family for. Here's some grain from a local organic farmer that we barter. I'm going to be installing a food forest for him. And so it's a really nice knit community trade that's happening here. But even if I paid for this stuff, I think it's $300 a ton for some of this. These whole grains work incredibly well for this system. You can see on the bare soil, now that we're coming out of winter and it's going to be warming up, I basically seeded all of the areas around here to this grain. They can eat as much as they want, whenever they want, and you can see that they do. But whatever they miss is going to start greening up and turning into pasture for them. We save our compost from the kitchen. We segregate out coffee grinds and meat or chicken scraps, and that goes into another compost. But we'll put compost with whey and rotten milk for them to free choice for a little bit. And then once that gets cold, we'll put that on top of the compost pile so that it can stay warm for them. And then once it gets old, we dump it out onto the compost. And since all of it is an active compost system, there is no waste with this. It's all being cycled through. And you can see all throughout, this was grain that was added within the last few days. And I'll come through with the hay fork. They basically kick this pile apart from the top down, and I come through with the hay fork and put it back on top. And they kick it apart, back on top, kick it apart, and so it goes. All the while they're shredding and churning the compost, but then also getting their feed and converting this compost 1 degree of separation into eggs, which we depend on for our diet pretty much every single day. You can maybe get a sense of the scale of this. There's a car driving by. I'm going to guess 15 to 20 cubic yards of material, which will shrink down probably to 10 cubic yards of finished, perfect, seed-free compost, because we'll give it enough time for the chickens to work it over. That's what we get in exchange for our chickens having a really high quality of life and providing us eggs. A pretty good deal, I think. I'll put a link here to these cattle panel greenhouses. This is the third one I've built on this little property. Really love them. This is $150 in materials, and it's really strong and pretty easy to build. And this is built in the chicken area with a mixed use. The idea is for the winter, the chickens can go in here. It's a little sloppy, but it is what it is. You can see there's a flap over there. They can come in. On snowy days, you can see them coming and going. They'll come in here where they're out of the wind, but the sun can get to them. They scratch through the same deal. They've been working in here a lot, so there's a lot less seeds, but just basically a huge pile of rotting leaves and soil. And they scratch it apart into the walkway. I put it back up. And then when I need this space to start seeds, which will be in the next few weeks, I'll put chicken wire across the bottom and poly to seal it. I've got a window over there for ventilation. They won't be able to come in for a little while, and I can use all this compost that we've generated together as bottom heat to start my seeds. You can also see the trench here goes out, and if I follow this up, I'll link to this as well. Just the other day I put a video out about how we do trenching in the late winter to allow water to release through the landscape, which you may want to see. The water from that video basically goes, it's kind of a mess out here in the winter, that goes all the way up through another garden, upslope to another garden, through the lawn, and into a whole series of ponds up there. Any leaching and excess water comes down, picks up nutrients as it goes, comes through leaves and soil, scoops around, the chickens scratch through it, and I open it back up again over and over, and then goes into the greenhouse where it can provide moisture, humidity, and wick water into those beds. So I shouldn't have to water in there, and all the excess nutrient gets sucked up into this system. Then there's the log playground, which in the winter isn't very active, but it's a way to have areas that the chickens can't scratch actively. And then I flip it over, there'll be worms and pill bugs all through the summer. So it's an evolving system. It's basically a chicken playground, and in some ways you could say, oh, you're pampering the chickens, but they're doing incredibly important work for us too. So it's a real joy to give them a nice quality of life. We'll keep putting updates out here as it evolves. And thanks for watching.